Hey everybody, as you probably know, I got the plane out of Annual last week and needed to do a test flight today. At the same time, I wanted to test an Akaso action camera mounted on the underside of the left wing. I'm really not very familiar with the camera, and turns out somehow I managed to disable the sound recording, and also the recording was at faster than normal speed, but still only 30 frames per second. So I've slowed the video down a little bit from the original format, but kept it a little faster than live so the video just moves along. We're at the Kissimmee Gateway Municipal Airport, which has two runways, one 6,000 feet, one 5,000 feet. This is just a little bit before noon on Friday today. Fairly busy, several planes in the traffic pattern. I just asked to do a couple of touch and goes to make sure everything was working on the airplane, as well as to give a chance to do a little recording and see how this turned out, recording outside the aircraft. This is taxiway Delta approaching the approach end of runway 15, which is the main calm wind runway and the one that has an ILS approach, though we do have GPS approaches for runway 6 as well as runway 31. Into the run-up area. I cut the run-up out of the video just to move things along a little bit. So this takeoff looks pretty darn fast. And again, that's just the video. My fault for not having the camera better configured. But you can pretend you're taking off on a rocket ship, I guess. Cleared for takeoff. Typically in my Skylane I climb out between 85 and 90 knots, mainly for engine cooling. The temperature today was about 86 degrees on the ground. Just off the end of the runway you can see West Lake Tahoe, which is the 6th largest lake in Florida. About 12 or 13 miles in the north-south direction and 2 or 3 miles wide, with several islands here at the north end of the lake. It's one of the bass fishing capitals, with lots of televised tournaments during the course of the year. Right next to the lake is where City Hall is, the courthouse, and downtown Kissimmee, and that's John Young Parkway crossing the railroad tracks down below. This is not really the tourist area of downtown, but it is where municipal government is. Look out for that bird. Off in the distance, you can barely see some of the Orlando skyline. And as we turn downwind, Disney is off in the distance. You can barely see a Cherokee about to turn base on the downwind, going right to left on the left half of the screen. We were cleared to follow him for a touch and go. This is at the pattern altitude around 900 feet, with the manifold pressure set about 19 inches. It's a pretty day. The air was fairly smooth. We've already started descending the beam to the numbers. On base, turning to final. This wasn't my best stabilized approach, but the Skylane has pretty darn effective flaps. So if I had to land, I could, but since it didn't feel very stable, I did a low-level go-around without touching the pavement. I was fairly heavy on flaps, so I leveled off to get the flaps up and pick up some airspeed before climbing away. I extended the upwind this time a little bit as I was gaining on the Cherokee, who was just now turning onto the downwind, to give him a little time to get a little farther down the traffic pattern before I turned. But it has the benefit of showing you a better view of Lake Toho. The second lake off in the distance was East Lake Toho, which is just below the Orlando International Airport. Again on the downwind. Turning base to final. The downwind had to be extended again for the Cherokee, who also is a little bit late turning base. I don't know if you can see it here, but there was a sightseeing helicopter just to my right at about the same altitude running opposite direction. He had me in sight. The tower didn't really call him out to me, but I heard him calling the helicopter to let him know about me. There's certainly a lot of these sightseeing helicopters around Kissimmee, and they generally fly at 400 feet or less, so the only time you're likely to encounter them is during takeoff and landing. They asked me to extend the roll to take a brand new taxiway Echo towards my hangar. As we cross runway 6 and 24, the next taxiway is the new taxiway Echo, which just opened in the last couple of months. Until next time, see you later.